And here we are. We are live for yet another week. We haven't got Jen yet. Hopefully she'll be in a little while. I will post the live link on the event page for anybody that wants to come in and join us. I saw Doc and a few others sitting around there. But Bill, we know what you've been up to this past week. You've been at Pubcon. How was it?
It was fun. It was good seeing people in real life whom you normally only see through social media. Get to exchange tweets with people, but also stop and have conversations with them and drink a few at the local pub. It's named Pubcon for a reason, right?
Oh, yeah. Of course, originally it all took place in a pub, and the pub was the entire event. It was glorious. All networking all day, no speeches, no presentations, wonderful stuff. I do miss that.
It's a different way of going about things. I'm preparing for another presentation in November, and I just started looking over the materials. I'm going to try to do something on context vectors, which seems to be the type of vectors that Google may have been talking about when they mentioned RankBrain, not word vectors or paragraph vectors like David Harry dug up, but it was good to find the correct context. I heard content is king a couple too many times at the past week in Pubcon.
Yes. I did hear mixed feelings about the presentations. That there were, some very good ones, but that some of it was a little bit the same old, and there was a certain amount of hot air circulating. Which is always a shame, but then again, an event of that size, that's always going to happen. There's so many people there. You do kind of get it pushed, I suppose.
It does happen. I was happy we ended up getting a lot of questions from people. They were asking good ones.
Excellent. That's something I always like to see at an event, but it's rare that it kind of happens. Or at least it doesn't generally happen for me. I always like to leave a bit of question time, but sometimes people are sort of reluctant. I never know whether that's a good thing or not. Have you been thorough enough that you haven't really left them any questions? Have you been thorough enough that they're kind of intimidated and don't want to say anything that might make it look like they didn't listen hard enough? Or have you just sent them to sleep and they're not?
I like when you can surprise people and see the jaws drop.
Yeah, definitely.
And tell them something about Google that they've never heard before.
Absolutely, and there's still so much that people don't think about. It is one of those things. People think they know what Google is, but they're so used to going in their same old rut all the time that they don't actually branch their thinking out.
And people can catch on to the implications behind the knowledge graph and how you can use the knowledge graph search API to uncover things and put on your website that maybe you hadn't thought of before. It opens up some avenues.
Yep. Terry, you're looking dapper today. How are you? What have you been up to this past week?
Oh, more of the same. I got a big project that I've been working on for, it seems like a long time. Adding short descriptions to shopping cart, a job I will give second consideration next time it's offered. I'm sure Doc can tell me all about that.
Oh, yeah.
The problem I'm having is you have, a couple hundred, maybe, a couple hundred products on a page, and they don't want one description to be repeated, and all the features are the same. By the time you're finished, you've written a bloody book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's enough to drive you off the deep end.
Yeah.
Hey, Doc, how are you? What have you been up to recently?
Hey, Ammon. Well, this last week I've been wrapping up one audit and launching a couple of new campaigns and arguing with the client about what really needs to be done. They're still stuck in 2003. So that's kind of fun. But
I did that for a year.
Yeah, it doesn't take too long for it to get old, does it?
Yeah.
But and then this morning I just interrupted everything and went out and tore our washing machine down to parade rest to find out where the flood was coming from. One lousy little hose clamp needed to be replaced. Had to take the machine down to 186 parts to get to it, of course.
Wow.
Yeah. That's always the little joys, isn't it? The little things.
And then while I was out there in the garage with the washing machine torn down, I closed the door so the dog couldn't get out. And she decided she had to crap, so the living room rug was the next best thing to the front yard.
Ah.
Nice.
Can't really blame her for it, but I did anyway.
I better explain to the viewers the background today. Earlier this week, I saw a blog post talking about Mobilegeddon, the second Mobilegeddon, because with Google having its actual mobile index and a desktop index. It's a big move for Google. There is a genuine story there. Finally going to have two separate indexes. As you know, it's something we have talked about in the desktop index.
Right. This is the AMP version as opposed to the WAP version.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But again, Mobilegeddon. Please, guys, think. It affects mobile. It's going to be for mobile users. If your site isn't already dealing with mobile, it's a non-event because it's not going to help you or harm you. And if you've been using mobile well, if your site is set up for mobile, better still, if you've got a mobile first strategy, this should be a big help for you because it will filter out some of the non-mobile friendly sites from the results.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering though, if you didn't go mobile first, if you just went with a traditional responsive with media queries, is that going to preclude you from getting into that mobile index? That's my concern, and I haven't seen anything one way or the other on that. One would hope not.
No, it shouldn't, although it's obvious they're going to push AMP results quite hard. It gives them a chance to boost certain features that you wouldn't necessarily want to boost for everybody, but for mobile use, you certainly would. I think with the how do I put it? With the way Google have been so pro AMP, if they don't boost AMP in this, I will be amazed.
Well, and that's, AMP is another big issue right now because of, I don't know, I haven't been able to do any testing, so I don't know how valid it is yet, but Alex apparently, and I did check it on our smartphone, found that AMP, when you load your AMP page from the SERP, it isn't actually loading your page, it's loading their cache, okay?
Right.
And which means if you want the user to be able to get the original post on your site, you've got to add some stuff to your page. And my overall impression of it is kind of negative at this point. Still need to see some more on it, but I don't like the fact that everything that the user does takes them back to the search.
It's one of those things, you know, if you're trying to present information to the customer, AMP is a big help. If you're trying to bring the customer in, AMP isn't necessarily a great help for you. It's, you know, pros and cons. It's about very, very fast delivery, and believe me, AMP makes a big difference to almost everybody.
Oh, yeah, it's a fraction of the load time. Yeah, I'll grant that. Because they've got one very beefy CDN driving it. But I don't know. I just don't like the general notion that now the client thinks he's coming to my site, but he's not. And the client clicks on something other than the navigation. You know, if he's looking at the hamburger menu, that's one thing. But if, like in the example that Alex had, happened to be a post that was about a year old. So they're seeing that cached version. Now, when was it cached? Was it cached 2 weeks ago, 6 months ago? Is it still current? And if, you know, it's 3 or 4 clicks minimum, plus a search for them to be able to find that post on his site. It just smacks totally wrong to me. It shouldn't be done that way, I don't think.
It's an extension of CDNs, and you know, there's so many of us using CDNs one way or another at the moment that
yeah, but when you go, if you go to Cloudflare, Ammon, and you click in the SERP on, and I'm serving through Cloudflare, you're going to my site. It's just served by Cloudflare. You're not going to their server. And
the other issue is, it's like, how could a e-commerce site use that? Good.
That's just it. Yeah, the analytics are shit now.
There's plugins now, and I think Shopify is one of the shopping cart systems.
Yeah, do I really want to be on Shopify? Like,
I'm just using that as an example. There are others. That's one that just came up most recently.
But what if you don't have something that has a plugin, right? Like, how many e-commerce sites, right, have a plugin that they could do that? Most of the sites are on Magento, OpenCart, unless you're going to a third-party provider, which, you know, I guess you can do that, but if you want to SEO your site, it's probably not a good decision.
Well, plus if somebody is using WooCommerce or OpenCart right now, having to change carts is a major chore for any kind of a large e-commerce.
I think you're actually at an advantage with things like that, because it's a bit like WordPress. There's so many people on it. Somebody will release the plugin for one of those very quickly.
Magento has AMP as well, just because you use that as an example.
Oh, there's a WordPress plugin for AMP.
Yeah,
but it doesn't work most of the time.
The parts of it that doesn't, I've used it on a few sites already, and most of the issues that come up with the AMP plugin is simply stuff you have embedded on the page that isn't in the AMP format. So whether it's YouTube videos or something else you brought into the page, that's usually what it is.
I've also heard of people having issues, of course, where they're ad driven and they think that all these extra impressions are going to really help them, but messing with their ads usually. You know, it's not a panacea, it's not a cure for everything, but you know, it has its place. It's a good thing generally. I certainly think that Google are going to push it, because for the mobile user rather than the publisher, and that's always who Google tries to put first, AMP is only positive, really.
Did they mention anything on app results in relation to that? Not AMP, like in relation to that index, because that otherwise, if you have a mobile site, you're not necessarily going to change. If the site is responsive, I'm not going to necessarily change much. Maybe I could show some stuff on desktop more than mobile, but beyond that,
I think there's going to be a lot more opportunity for that kind of thing, but I wouldn't think they would be kicking off with it. One of the good advantages to this is that, again, it segments their user base so that when Google does its infamous A/B testing, it's much easier to test certain things in certain ways with only certain users. Yeah, you can try and do it with user agents and things like that now, but as we know, those can get messy kind of fast. The number of things that, you know, say that they're an iPhone that aren't, it is quite high.
Have they said outright that AMP sites will get any preference in ranking?
No,
No.
they just get the mobile ranking boost. Is all.
I hope that never happens, because I can live with that. I don't think too many users are ever going to realize what AMP is, what it means. And as long as you're really doing all you can to speed up your load and compress and combine, you should be able to serve to mobile users decently.
From the study I was doing, which was more of a straw poll than a truly scientific study, but I had some good people with some good reliable data that were in my little poll. They were finding that AMP was getting anything up to a 40% boost.
In ranking?
That was when you got when you first started to get the little AMP symbol in the results and stuff like that. AMP sites were getting 40% more traffic.
Were they
Also think
already
about the
pretty
carousels too.
And that's it.
Yeah,
I
but you
believe
add an image to any result and it gets more traffic.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
add an image, anything that draws the eye, that gets more traffic.
Well,
So
that's exactly
attributing
what I
that
mean.
to
That's-
it being AMP pages is ridiculous.
That's why I brought it up, is that, you know, there is already an advantage and
We
benefit
agree.
to AMP. So it's already getting a boost by having the extra little notation. It's a bit like, you know, when authorship added images to some results, those results tended to get a huge amount more clicks.
Also think about the user. Like me personally, I click on an AMP result when I have the option. Like if there's 2 pages that look like they're going to have the same info for me, I will always click the AMP one first, especially when I'm traveling.
Yeah. Which is half your life, really.
Pretty much, huh?
Speaking of which, how was Pubcon for you?
So it was great. It was really, really good. Yeah, I had an hour-long presentation that I did, and then I found out afterwards that one of the Googlers in charge of what I was speaking on was in the room. So I was glad I didn't know that ahead of time.
That's always kind of an extra bit of spice, and yeah. I remember one of the times I was doing SES. I used to do the website workshops, because again, no presentation to worry about. Turn up, go through the sites you're given, give people, you know, hints and advice. Yeah, well, one time we had a couple of Google engineers put their sites forward. That was fun. Having to tell the Google engineers what they could do to get more Google traffic. Hey Fab, how are you?
Good. Hang out with the sun outside is the first time. Not too bad. I'm currently in New York in our office in Manhattan, which is, the weather is amazing, like 25 plus. Yeah, so quite lucky.
It's a much brighter space than your usual.
Yeah, it's so sunny. I'm burning right now because the curtain is down, but still. Not
Yeah,
bad.
cool. So you got the little Union Jack over to the side, though.
Yeah, this office is well, the original intent was to have a British theme. I'm not sure how much there is. There's a pipe. It's called Sherlock. There is a pipe as well.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. If you're going to sum up Britishness, a Union Jack, a Chesterfield safer, and a pipe. There you go.
Cricket thing, and there's some reminds of.
Cool. I must admit, I thought Dawn would be jumping in today and chatting about Pubcon as well. I understand, though, that both of you have been invited to Brighton SEO.
Yep, I'll be speaking in April.
Great.
Are you tempted yet, Bill?
I'm tempted.
Yeah.
I'll have to come up with something to speak about.
Yeah, I mean, come over for Brighton SEO and we'll do a live Bogus Hangout as well.
That could be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, my kitchen is big enough. We'll just camp there with the coffees and do a live one. Oh, there's Kristen, joined us. I think she was having not a wardrobe malfunction, but a makeup malfunction. Was it fancy dress today? Were you taking the kids out?
Oh no.
Oh, we lost it. Well, okay.
Oh yeah. Yes, sir.
No.
No. How was the Wi-Fi at Pubcon?
It was actually really good. I can't actually remember a conference that had such seamless internet for a while, now that I'm thinking about it.
I just got in a mood.
No, they were trying out a mobile app to allow people to find which conference rooms they were going to. And that was helpful.
You know, I didn't actually download the app to use it, but I heard some good things about it.
It took almost no time to download, and Brett kept on updating people with it, new news during the conference, which was good getting some communication like that.
I downloaded an app for a conference before that shall remain nameless, and they kept spamming us with stuff, and I'm like, just go away. So maybe that was part of my experience. Like, maybe I won't download this one, but maybe I'll download it for next year at Pubcon if it seemed to be good.
By the way, anybody that didn't see Dawn's slideshow, it
there's somebody that doubtless has been enjoying Pubcon as well.
Dixon.
I did. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was very good. And yeah, the Wi-Fi was great. I have to agree, Jen, for a change.
I know, right? We're so used to Wi-Fi going down at conferences.
Yeah, that was good. I didn't try the app, but yeah, it was good. It was a good conference. Yeah. Thanks for coming to my session again, Bill. I know it was the same thing as last year, but just slightly different.
It was good. I like the approach you took.
I think there's more to it in the future. I haven't figured it all out yet, but you know, you've got to start somewhere. Anyway, cheers. It's 8 PM here.
Pubcon is still, it's kind of, you're going to meet more of your friends, more people in the industry there these days than any other event, aren't you? It is the biggest hookup of the year.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that draws a lot of people from all over. Like, obviously, Dixon was there. We have people from Australia there.
Dixon's presentation was ostensibly about link building, but it was about semantic web and entities, and I enjoyed it a lot.
I have to blame, I think, you and Keith Good and a few other people. I put something up on Facebook a week before, or well, no, a bit more than the week before, saying, what do you want? I've got to talk on link building. What do you want me to approach? And I foolishly put up entity search as one of the options. And I was sent down that route, which I I ended up really enjoying putting together. Actually, I really did, and I think there's a lot more to. I mean, the problem is with Pubcon is you kind of, well, I have to go out a little bit on a limb because people just don't want me to give the same old stuff. So you take a bit of a risk, but I think there is quite a lot to looking at entities and how Google is pulling all that stuff together and saying, actually, I don't really care whether it's a website or whether it's a person or whether it's a place or whether it's a bricks and mortar place. I'm going to have a structured data set that allows me to pull all that information together. So I know for this restaurant, it's Twitter profile, it's Facebook profile, it's all the other bits and pieces, all in one place. I need that for Carousel. I need that for Google Now. I need that for everything. I need the Wikipedia entry and pull it all into one place. So Google isn't now looking up a database of web pages. It's looking up its entity database first, which is ripping off everybody else's structured data sets and making its own. And you might be in 1 minute, you know, the Twitter profile might be in 1 minute, out the next minute. It's consistently updating. But I think that now it's all about understanding your entity rather than understanding the links to your web page. Which, I mean, there's still links, but it's just in a different mindset. Yeah.
In these days of Hummingbird and RankBrain, understanding the knowledge base is important when it comes to things like keyword creation, keyword research. And that's sort of the goal I've set for myself next, because I give a presentation in Arizona at NextCon. And I decided to talk about keyword research and context vectors. And just helping.
Talk about content extractors, Bill. What do you mean? What does that mean?
I said context vectors.
Oh, context. Okay.
If you take a knowledge base and you look at how words are used on a knowledge base, so that when the same words are used more than once, and you can apply a weight to the different meanings to uncover probabilities that a certain word might be the one that's meant. For instance, if the word horse is used in a query, is it the horse that a carpenter uses? Is it the horse that a gymnast uses? Or is it the horse that somebody rides around on? It could be all three. A context vector might try to apply a weight to determine which horse might be in a query.
Yeah, or just a typo for someone with a sore throat.
Right.
Well, and vectoring is, vector analysis is certainly the fastest and easiest way, particularly at scale, for them to determine what context of a given term is.
Yeah, and this from Doc, who knows about vector analysis.
I wouldn't go so far.
The major thing is that, when you are looking at entities, it becomes even more important than ever to know which is the right entity to be working on. So that context vectoring has to be important for working out which entities you need to be looking at. Although Google have traditionally kind of liked to have a bit of a mix a lot of the time, so that
they have, but it becomes quite really obvious now, because you've got several different factors, 200 different factors, but you've got the entity. So the way I got into this is Majestic a wine company? Is it a shoe company? Is it a set of theatres around the world? Or is it Majestic? Clearly, in a consumer market, I shouldn't be in the mix. I've got to change my business model to have a right to be in that mix. It makes for an interesting challenge, because clearly I would like to be there for Majestic. That's where my world changed. So now I don't want to be there. If somebody's looking for a theatre show, I don't want to be there. If they're looking for wine, well, actually, I'm working on it. If they're involved in SEO, I want them to be there. And Google's job now is to match the fact that Bill's searching for Majestic, not my actor friends searching for Majestic. And once it knows that relationship, that's really, really important. And I think they're getting there because we've put Schema on the site, we put Jason LD on the site, and I think that's made a real help for Majestic, at least in the last couple of weeks, actually. We put it on a month, 6 weeks ago, and Google now understands our audience, and that's in part of the code on the site. We tell Google now who our audience is, and by definition or by contradiction, we tell them what our audience is not. We don't want actors coming to Majestic.
Yeah, that was one thing that people were hoping AdSense was going to help them with years ago, was that as Google got to profile which ads were getting clicks, it should be understanding your site better. But of course, the infamous Chinese wall actually played against us there. The first time we actually kind of wanted Google to pull data from the pay-per-click, of course, it was still meeting its rule that the two sides don't talk to each other, which was a bit of a shame.
Do you think that's what caused it? I don't know.
I think with remarketing with the AdSense though too plays another role in it. Like when sometimes I look at ad revenue and I see, you know, somehow I got $60 for a click on an ad on a site, and I know it's not any ad that could potentially be targeted to the page, so it has to be a retargeting thing that someone clicked on, and that's so. People will complain like whether their ads are targeted or not targeted, or complaints people have had. Except then when you take in retargeting into account, you know, we always joke about ads stalking us. That's exactly what happens with AdSense too, and why people see funky ads on websites most of the time.
When Google acquired or merged with Applied Semantics, the guys who created that had built a big concept knowledge base and a way of categorizing advertisements, and they had a few patents that came out under their names as Google employees, where they talked about how they would create categories for advertisements, and it would have made sense to use those categories in organic search too. And they did end up writing a couple of patents that involved organic search in categories, but it's hard to tell how much that actually was applied to organic search.
I think that like there is still a big disconnect between the two teams. Like a friend of mine recently found out that one of his like display campaign was burning, like on insurance term, was burning like £20 per click on a fashion site. And just because they managed to, with some iframes, some other stuff, like, so there's a bit of like, you know, if ads technology would have like anti-spam and expertise of like who is building the algorithm, and the other way around, you know, can you make the ad more contextually relevant to what that thing is? It's not just, if you cut retargeting, still there's very little, the segmentation is not, could be way more.
I like the pillow there, Dixon. We're kind of all in bed with Dixon Jones this week.
Listen, I didn't know I was going to be on air. I was just, you know, I'm in a hotel room as always, and there we go. But here's an interesting thing: the Chinese wall back in the day, Ammon. Yeah, there was a Chinese wall between AdSense and between paid search and organic search, and it was there for political reasons as much as anything. What's an interesting thing about entity search is there's no reason why, if Google decides, right, an entity is Justin Bieber's playing outside my window in Birmingham, so Justin Bieber has got an entity there. Presumably, he's got some advertising going on for his trip in Barclaycard Arena. He's got a profile. He's got a Twitter profile. He's got a web page. He's got a place that he sells tickets. He's got all this bits and pieces. Clearly, an entity, and I can't see any reason why Google wouldn't associate the ad revenue that he's putting into that into his entity, and it gives them, just an entity does what it does. It either pays for ads, doesn't pay for ads, does all these things. But if they're looking up the entity as opposed to the website, it completely changes the dynamics of search. And I just see it more and more clearly as I look at it. Google's not looking up what web page should I bring back. It's looking up the entity that it's associated with on more common queries where there's something relevant for their entity. And so it means that the longer tail is the only place that the traditional SEOs can still hang out, where there is no entity for the phrase best places to have a slumber party in Birmingham. So unless there's an entity, if there's no entity for the search query, yeah, sure, Google might go back to its old traditional stuff. But one of the reasons why SEOs are moaning that the pure results are going further and further and further down the results page, and you can't see them, they're not top of the fold anymore, is because they're not understanding what is top of the fold and the mentality that's that Google is looking at to put things on top of the fold, like capitals or local, that weren't there before.
Yeah.
If Google replaces paid knowledge panels with paid advertising at the tops of some search results, they've said in at least one patent that they could hold auctions in knowledge panels, and you could base auctions on Justin Bieber streamed media, real live tickets, and physical media. So you can have 3 different auctions for the same entity for the same words, and they would earn different values based on which type of product you might be trying to sell.
Yeah.
So if you did that, you'd have to, Google would have to, and they're up to it now, they'd have to say, and I only want people that are interested in boy bands, or only want people that are interested in live concerts to differentiate. So they'd need to put the bid by the type of user that's doing the search, I think. Commercial reasons.
I can see them being very reluctant to do that, though, because at the end of the day, they don't want to decrease their click-through. They'd rather, make you have to decide whether that word was worth it or not, which is unfortunately the direction they've gone recently with, the loss of a lot of the traffic data that we used to get. The thing of those huge buckets now of keyword estimates, oh, this phrase gets between 100,000 and 1 million 10 times, between the bottom of the scale and the top of the scale. That's huge. It's ridiculous. I think even if you were doubling each time, that it's not as granular as we'd want it as an advertiser. But 10 times is just ludicrous. Yeah. But I don't see entities as necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, there's times when people, Justin Bieber's Facebook, they want to see his Facebook page. That's great. That was always true. It doesn't matter whether there's entity search or not. As long as Google was doing the right thing and actually having his Facebook page somewhere in the results, and they were pretty good at that, that was the one going to get all the clicks anyway.
But entity search has gone a long way beyond that, because when you type in Justin Bieber, clearly there's an entity. Google knows not just which results to bring back. Google knows everything there is to know about Justin Bieber, more than Justin Bieber knows about himself. They know last time he went to the loo, and absolutely everything. So, given that, it's clear that what they then want is diversity within those results. Query deserves diversity. I don't know. Query deserves a full and frank viewpoint of Justin Bieber. And at the moment, that's in that case the knowledge bit on the right hand side is a good proxy for that. But it's also there. Your Twitter profile will be in the top result. You know, the Wikipedia article will be in the top result. They're all Justin Bieber, full stop. Now, if Google is at some point going to, as Bill suggests, potentially sell that right-hand side result, that's worth a lot, because the person that will buy, knowing that Justin Bieber and only Justin Bieber is the result, is going to pay a lot, but it potentially will end up with huge numbers of court cases, because we've already had all the problems with AdWords where people have been bidding on other people's brands. So I would imagine it's going to be that legal debacle on steroids.
Yeah, you can see where they've got the idea. I mean, you know, obviously, if he's had a single or an album out recently, you're going to mention that. You want to link to one of the stores that sells it. Why not auction it? You don't care which one it is. Yeah. However, the user would probably prefer it as the one with the best price or the best deal at the moment, unless they're all the same. Yeah.
Well, we've seen them do stuff like that with, like, when you look at songs and movies and stuff like that. We see them like listing Spotify and iTunes and yada yada in the sidebar as well.
I guess that also context can. So I booked the last 3 nights in hotel directly from the knowledge panel. There is local result, but still, like, from differentiating the fact that they want direction or I want to book the actual hotel. And if you imagine, if you think about just Justin Bieber, if I'm next to the venue where there is a concert or where there is an event, they could personalize what I eventually see. You know, not just by the album or not just giving me the generic information, but to skew that. And that auction on the local bit is I think is already quite successful between local and paid.
It's always tough for Google to balance those two things together, and I think especially for Google, because Google always feels like an essentially academic-based venture. It often seems that, you know, business isn't Google's first aspect of thought for anything. It's always the academic stuff first, and then the desire to monetize it and maximize profit sort of done later. And it sometimes feels like even Google's not very comfortable with it, and sometimes almost puts those decisions at arm's length. You know, oh, let somebody else worry about that. I don't want to deal with it. And sometimes it leads to clumsy decisions, to my mind, when it comes to monetization. Mm-hmm. I'm more thinking of what they're going to do the next time. I mean, they're opening up even more lawsuits and issues with Europe once they start selling something they call the knowledge panel open to sponsorship.
I've seen there are third-party tools that end up being used in Knowledge Panel for booking, for looking at menus and delivery. Wall Street Journal said last year that Google was going to start showing buy buttons in search results, and Google didn't release those when they said they were going to. So I'm expecting them to appear sometime soon.
I think the third-party data is quite an interesting point, because it gives an added dimension, a sinister dimension, which Google is not responsible for. We're responsible for as buyers. So the likes of, I think, Alchemy, there's probably others. If I got the name wrong, I apologize. The people that are aggregating the data sources, those kind of people are instrumental in making marketers on 2 levels. One, be able to target to the audience. So Majestic only wants to target to SEOs. That's one in a million people, really. You know, there's no point in me talking to the rest of them. So if I can avoid the spam, that's generally considered good for everybody. But the fact that I'm stalking Bill Slawski, that's not good for Bill Slonsky if he wants to go with this. So there's a double-edged sword here, and I think that Google wants to own part of it, Facebook wants to own part of it, and their tracking is, I saw a thing today, 999 ways or 99 ways that Facebook is targeting you, which was kind of scary. But once you've got those, and you've got a third-party data source aggregating that, and you've got Google's tracking, Bing's tracking, your own tracking, because of course you've got your own client base and your own people that visit your own website, and you match those together. It's very, very pinpointed, but maybe some of the people in the room, and I'm looking at Doc, we're kind of too old to cope with this level of paranoia that's coming around with us. Sorry, Doc.
You cut me to the quick, even if it's accurate.
I'm dying now.
I think we all do kind of worry about this more than some do. Certainly, my kids have no worries about privacy yet because, they haven't had any incidents. However, it's kids who have some of the worst issues with cyberbullying and, the downsides of being visible online. So it's going to be a tough one. There's a lot of tough decisions in almost every respect with the internet, but certainly Google's going to be facing just as many as anybody else. It's already had to deal with a few, and it's got a lot more to deal with. And context for everything is going to be one of the big battlegrounds, I think. How much should Google know about us? If Google is keeping data on us, how personally identifiable is personally identifiable? I think that's going to be challenged at some point. If Google is able to tailor my search results, then it is tracking me. It maybe not by name, but effectively it's tracking me.
In Europe, for sure. Yeah. In the US, I don't know, but in Europe, yeah, that's the Dutch are not going to let that run.
I got a feeling that that's going to be another thing that changes if Trump comes to power. He has been pretty vocal in criticism about Google with regards to, Hillary's getting better press than he is. He doesn't understand it. He is of the age that he's interested in the internet, but maybe not fully cognizant of it all. And I think he is going to want to meddle.
He should not exercise SEO. He doesn't understand it well enough.
Well, his SEO designer or his web designer is getting away with putting hidden links on his webpage. So,
really,
there's times I think that about the English language, Bill. Maybe he shouldn't use it. He doesn't seem to understand it.
Well, he wants to effectively ban journalists, and it's a whole lot of bad if he was to get in that goes well beyond just what he would do to the internet.
Yeah, that would be the least of our problems, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the first big problem is how Canada's going to fit all those Americans.
Well, fortunately, they've got a lot of free real estate out there. You just gotta not mind living in a puddle.
We have plenty of igloos up for rent.
Igloos and polar bears.
I think there could be a lot heading your way, Doc, as well, because Mexico, he's promised to build a wall behind them to stop him following. So Canada will still have an open border for him to follow.
I tell you what, Ammon, I'm really surprised that he made that trip to Mexico City. I would be willing to bet that he augmented his security a lot.
Yeah.
Because there was more than one crackpot that would have gladly put an arrow through his eye.
I've put the solution for you in the chat in this sources box. breakingitforcanada.com. Fill the wall.
I must admit, I would love to get across to a Pubcon sometime soon. It's just, Dixon, it takes it out of you, all this travel, doesn't it? And I mean,
well, so I have a mantra in life because I travel a lot, as you know. But I try and get home for the weekend, and my wife's not asking me to get home for the weekend. The kids aren't asking me to get home for the weekend. Frankly, they're kicking me out by Monday. But that's the thing that keeps me stable, is when I get home and I have a weekend, I feel every right to switch all you guys off and ride my bike and do the stuff that normal adults do. And then come Monday, I'm sadly, you know, at 9 o'clock in the evening, I'm still in a hotel room in Birmingham chatting on this. So I kind of get the balance. It works for me and it works for my wife, and the kids are teenagers, so they don't care anyway. But yeah, if you get it wrong, I think it could go horribly wrong. And I don't think every relationship could stand it. But, you know, I think most people would know I don't usually spend my time at Las Vegas going to, you know, the most dodgy places, just the same dodgy places that everyone goes to. Like.
That's your excuse. You're sticking to it.
Well, and I was in the same boat, Dixon. When I was consulting, I was at least 6 months out of the year I was out of town.
Yeah,
living in a hotel. And what brought me back to get to looking for some balance was the fact that my daughter was at that time just turning 13, and me being gone 5 days out of the week just wasn't cutting it. I wanted to be around her and have some influence on her. So I made the decision. I took a hell of a pay cut for doing it, but I made the decision to go ahead and retire early and be around to enjoy her a little bit while she was still young. And I don't regret it a bit, but my wife was very supportive when I was traveling.
Yeah.
But it puts a strain.
I think that's you just got to get the balance right in your family, really. What is different now to just 5 years ago is you know, me and my wife can chat on Facebook as we're having this conversation. And, you know, and we you know, so not that she would want to see this conversation because this would you know, not excited, but you know, you're much more in touch now virtually and than before. So it can be different, but I think you need a strong relationship to make it work.
Yeah.
And I can't argue. I get to go business class across the Atlantic every other week. I'm going to take that sometimes.
Yeah, there you go.
But it has to
on the
feel...
plus side, I get to take my family off to Helsinki in a couple of weeks on the air miles that I've got, so we can all go and.
But it has to also feel that sometimes you're spending, even though it's not actually like, it just feels like you're spending half your life on planes and in airports to get there rather than being there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to say it's all. The thing is, what do? You say it's a bed of roses, or you say it's not. It's not a bed of roses. But to try and pretend that it is worse than going down the coal mine, or it is worse than being a medical doctor in Aleppo, or it is worse than, you know, than other bits and pieces. You look at what you do in life and you try and make a difference, or you try and hide away from the world. Either way around, both are fine. But if I'm going to try and make a difference in the world, this is the bit that I've got that I think I can do. Or I can not try and make a difference. I can hide away, and I could probably get away with it now. I could probably just about now stop, maybe sort of go to Tesco's and push the trolleys around on minimum wage for a bit and just about get away with it. But that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. I'm not that clever, but I've got to a certain point and I want to make it work for people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100% with you there.
And so does my wife, by the way. I think she's, fortunately, she doesn't know how bad I am at stuff. But as long as I could just keep her in the dark on that one, then you know, then she's proud of me. So I'll take that.
It's been an interesting journey for you, my friend, the same as it has been for most of us these past two score decades. You know, 20 years has seen a lot of changes. How different is it to what you expected? Now, I'll throw that as the final question for this hangout to everyone. But starting with you, Dixon, how different is the position you're at now to what you thought would be happening?
Well, I'd love to hear everyone else's, but for me, when I started. Well, I went limited in 1999, and so about a year before that, I was trying to do some stuff, and I suspect that there may be people that have gone longer, but really, SEO in the UK in 1999 was pretty thin on the ground, and I really did see it as the new frontier, and I think it has been the new frontier. And it's been great. And I do feel like it's now tamed, almost as tamed as America was when it actually became independent. And if you hadn't thrown your tea in the bloody Boston Harbor, then we'd have got the rest of the way. But I think it's been a great adventure. I'm glad I started it. It's been a bit painful at times, but I quite like where I am right now.
Yeah. Good answer. Bill, how about you? Where are you at now compared to where you thought you'd be at this stage 20 years ago?
If I look in knowledge graphs on the web for Google, and I look at where I went to law school, they have a picture of me as a notable alumni of my law school. I'm one of the few non-lawyers listed, and that doesn't make me feel bad.
No, good.
I enjoy doing SEO. I think I enjoyed it a lot more than I would have enjoyed practicing law.
Yeah.
And the legal education hasn't hurt me when it comes to understanding and analyzing websites.
No, I know there were a couple of Googlers that had a law background. Didn't Adam have a legal background originally? He used to be on the web spam team with Matt.
Adam Lesnick, I think it's possible.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of research and a lot of dealing with facts and figures and being able to look up past things very quickly. There's a lot of cross-referencing in law, and I think there is a surprising amount of correlation between search and law.
It is a knowledge profession. It does require learning lots of things quickly.
Yep.
And lots of changes ongoing.
Yeah.
John came in, by the way.
Yeah.
Hello, John.
How
Hi.
about you, John? I mean, 20 years ago, you certainly weren't expecting to ever be working for Google. So, how's your journey been?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like when you look back 20 years, I certainly didn't have any of this planned. So stuff happens, Things go up, things go down.
Yeah. I certainly think all of us would actually say that the things that have happened to us are probably better than what we expected and what we planned. Certainly for me, I still feel like I'm making it up as I go along completely. But I'm not unhappy with any part of the journey. I love learning new things, and this career always gives me new things to learn. It always makes me feel like I'm exploring new territory, and I'm part of building tomorrow. Hopefully a better tomorrow, but certainly an interesting tomorrow. Terry, you're another long timer there. I mean, how about you?
I'm about where I thought I'd be. I always just wanted to have my own business, and service businesses are usually the easiest way for I never went very far in school, or I finished grade 12. That was about it. It's all life experience, whatnot. Always sold stuff though, so knew I would sell things. That's what I do, I guess. I'm surprised that I have, that I got into technology. probably wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have, you know, got closer to my brother. Because when I started, when he turned me on to computers, I was starting a response business using ads in magazines and newspapers and stuff, right? So seemed to go right with it. And then because there's no one that did that at a price I could pay, I ended up learning how to build websites, and here I am. So I ended up with a business, but not the business I thought I'd have.
Yeah. Jen.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of has all these weird random stories. I was kind of like the black sheep of my family because I was like the only person in multiple generations of my family not to go into the family business. So I was like always this anomaly in the family. But I mean, obviously I do a lot of writing, and that was kind of like what I originally thought I was going to get into. Did I think I was going to be a tech journalist? Probably not. But it's kind of interesting how, you know, all these different things happen in your life that leads you to a certain thing. Like when I took an HTML, learning how to HTML, more than 20 years ago, back before there was an HTML editor. Like I remember when something came out called Hot Dog, and it was just like the most amazing thing ever because suddenly I could press a button and put a BR tag in there and stuff. And then eventually like Dreamweaver came out and all these other things. And now WordPress is so easy that anyone can do a web page, where when I started way back when, you know, you had to know how to do it yourself because, you know, WordPress didn't exist. Movable type was well before WordPress, and that wasn't out yet. And of course, I think we all would love to go back to the days when we could buy our penny clicks on Overture.
I still love the days when you only paid for the actual clicks, and they didn't worry about whether your ad was getting any clicks, so you could get all the free advertising you wanted on the side of things. You used to do these lovely branding ads. You'd bid the highest with an ad that you'd designed not to be clicked, just to do the branding message. And free advertising.
And we thought it was like the end of the world when they raised the minimum click to 3 cents, and we were just like, oh my God, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, and started actually demanding that you had some volume. I mean, you know, just on price, please.
So I noticed that Kirsten and Fabrizio haven't said much right now, but one thing that I think has changed for me is for the better. Trying to tell people what little I knew of how all this worked as a consultant. I don't think I enjoyed being a consultant. When I started out, I didn't plan to do it for other people. I planned to build websites, and I planned to, you know, just do my bit building an empire on the web. And when you try to tell people that, I don't know, 100% iframe doesn't work anymore, or the early days of some pretty dubious stuff, it didn't become as fun for me as getting into the underlying data of my own. I do love crawling the web in our own right and making our own decisions, and probably making the same mistakes that Google probably made 20 years ago or 15 years ago, of just understanding. We did a little fix in our data today when we realized that 90% of all subdomains on the internet were more or less, I'm not saying how many, but a few spam networks. And it wasn't that it was a problem. It was a problem because it was just throwing everything off. It was just literally a few small things, but a lot of data that was completely worthless to man or beast. So of course we just, fixed that problem. the black hats are well pissed off because they were all selling domain, buying and selling domains based on our metric. Okay, I'm very happy for that because it's a but the black hats have worked out that because we got rid of 90% of all subdomains. We've still got 60 billion in the system. So we're not talking like we had something like 500 billion in the system. And so somebody had inflated our metrics, because you can sit there and think whether you've got 10 or whether you've got 10 billion or 600 billion, they're all ranked in 0 to 100. Few at 100, lots at 0. So if you take out 90 billion, 90% of 600 billion domains, then it's going to change the metrics. Nothing's going to correlate with what you've just taken out, and it's all going to just be a completely different mathematical formula. But the people were selling and buying and selling domains based on www.theirdomain.com is higher in our maths than the rootdomain.com. And that's because 90% of the stuff was crap, inflating the bottom, so therefore pushing the subdomains numbers that are actually real up in the values. And then people are saying, oh, but I've got to compare the dub with the non-dub, and I've taken the bigger one because, and it was just apples and oranges, and we've just fixed a thing. It's just mathematically better.
Yep.
And I've really upset a lot of people, and I'm not unhappy about it. And I feel for Google when they're trying to do that sort of thing. They're just trying to make the system sometimes dramatically better. It does help that we got rid of 90% of our subdomain database table as well. But
have you read the Microsoft paper damn spam and statistics?
No, I haven't, but I know what's in it now.
I'm going to quickly jump in because we are past time. I'm going to take us off the air for this week. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll probably be carrying on chatting for a while. If anyone wants to jump in, link's still there. Thanks for joining us, and 2 years of Bogus Hangouts. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.